I really can't help but want to talk about this movie. I don't even really know why I bothered to watch it. Probably because I saw a slightly less terrible movie before it concerning this similar characters. It was a different Marvel movie and went, oh no, there's no way to do it quickly. Because the only way I'm going to be able to describe how absolutely dogshit Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is to compare it to some other nowhere near as bad films and some of the worst movies I've ever seen. And we're going to figure out exactly how bad. In my opinion, there is, in Cape shit, two categories of bad movie. Now, most Cape shit right now is universally, objectively bad. They can only be enjoyed as guilty pleasures because bad movies are not necessarily unenjoyable. they're they're not necessarily miserable to watch. So, my favorite Marvel movie, a franchise I never particularly liked, kind of did up until about Infinity War-ish, and now I just kind of hate for sport. But that doesn't mean I still haven't seen, once I'd given up on this franchise, some stuff that I liked about it. So the movie I watched right before it is Spider-Man No Way Home, which is a bad movie. But it's a certain kind of bad movie. And then I watched this movie. The comparison films you're going to hear about are probably Star Wars The Last Jedi, Avengers of Age of Ultron, and what else should I pick? I guess the original Doctor Strange. The original Doctor Strange is the best Marvel film in the franchise. Why would I say that? Well, it's not because it's the most spectacular. It's not because it has the most fan favorite characters. It's not because the stakes are amazing or the effects are the best that we've seen out of Disney. Why is it the best Marvel film? Because it is the most competently made. It is the most professionally put together. It has a clear vision, and there's obvious, coherence from scene to scene, beat to beat, point to point. It's paced very well, and it looks really good. And Benedict Cumberbatch is very likable as Doctor Strange. He's very well cast. Or he was likable as Doctor Strange. So before this, I saw No Way Home, which is, with the exception of Endgame and, Infinity War and the original Doctor Strange, the only other movie I've seen him in, right? So I'm watching him, and he's not in the movie a whole lot, and what he does is generally stupid, but I let it go because although Doctor Strange is not stupid, or he wasn't stupid, he is a brash asshole who loves to break the rules. So, of course, he would do something brash and break the rules. The fact that he allowed what happened to happen and that caused the whole plot of that movie is fucking dumb. But I came into that movie kind of knowing a little bit about what it was about and expecting it to be stupid. And that is the kind of bad movie Spider-Man No Way Home is. It is very stupid. But is it unwatchable? Was it painful for me to watch? The first half, yes. Oh yeah, it was. The second half was significantly better. And once I accepted that what I was looking at was a fucking dump truck backing up and just loading fan service on top of me, which I normally don't like, but I was going, I'm not very emotionally invested in this series. I generally hate Marvel, and my standards for Marvel are below the floor. So I let it happen, and I'd actually never seen the Andrew Garfield movies. He surprised me with how likable he was. Tobey Maguire, looking old as shit, but otherwise was every bit the show stealer of the entire film. He was great. The guy who played Doc Ock, great. Norman Reedus, holy shit, how did I forget his name? I'm going to regret this because he's one of my favorite actors. I'm tired. I was up all night kind of watching shit. But, yeah, he's great. the Green Goblin guy. But it was all scenery chewing, absolute nonsense. The only scene I really didn't like was killing off Aunt May. I didn't think it was necessary to the film. And it participated to some tonal whiplash, and tonal whiplash is the biggest flaw of the film, is it likes to go between morbidly depressing and very sad to some extremely poorly written humor. Both Zendaya and the kid who plays what's his face, Peter Parker's other best friend, were intolerable in the movie. However, they didn't take up so much screen time that I couldn't let it go and hold my breath through their scenes. But they suck terribly, and almost all the dialogue concerning them sucked terribly. And the only time I laughed at the film was once at Andrew Garfield and once at Tobey Maguire. Tom Holland is not funny. I don't know why people think he is. That doesn't mean he can't play Spider-Man, but he's not funny. Now, did I ever think Spider-Man's corny kind of sense of humor was funny? No. In fact, he was originally written to be a dork who was kind of up his own ass and not funny. That was sort of supposed to be kind of who he was. So I didn't mind. Okay. So I'm watching that, and I'm sorry I spent 6 minutes to watch that, but I explained how this movie is structurally dumb. There's a lot of bad dialogue in it. It's not terribly paced. It's a little too long. It's mostly fan service. And it is stupid, but it qualified for guilty pleasure status. No Way Home is bad, but it's not so bad that it's like in any way irredeemable. It has all sorts of positive qualities. And if you're an extremely forgiving person, like all Marvel fans are, the most forgiving and permissive movie fans in human existence, they accept garbage and give it 5 stars. Yeah, no, I'm sure everybody loved it, right? Then we talk about Doctor Strange. I don't know if it was as popular. Brand new characters in their first outings don't always get the big respect, but I think Doctor Strange kind of really did because the Marvel train was really rolling. But I don't think it's remembered as fondly as some of the other Avengers shit, right? But I sincerely like that movie. And also that movie was very serious in tone. And even though it had comedy shit in it, it didn't feel like a bunch of writers were trying to figure out how to get a laughs per minute ratio going in this formulaic, conceited, cringy business corporate nonsense, right? It's a studio meddling bullshit. It felt a little more natural, like it was coming from the script, and it was coming largely from Benedict Cumberbatch's performance rather than being so forced like it is in the Spider-Man movies. It's very forced in the Spider-Man movies. It's the drama of the Spider-Man movies that makes me appreciate them at all. They are not funny. They are super not funny. It's brutal how not funny they are. And if they were meant to be taken more strictly as just a comedy, they'd be insufferable, So now I'm looking at Multiverse of Madness. What kind of bad movie is Multiverse of Madness? That's hard for me to say. Because I didn't sense a directed malicious intent from this movie. And the second form of malice is what I call hateful or malicious, or excuse me, bad movies. Second form of bad movies is malicious, malice, hatefully bad movies. The Last Jedi is not a film, it's an act of cultural terrorism made by a man who hates Star Wars and hates Star Wars fans. And that's why it's so bad. In fact, that's why the whole sequel trilogy is so bad. They are not made by Star Wars fans. They're made by people who hate Star Wars and want to change what it is into something unrecognizable and an extremely poor quality. So the hatefulness is in the intention of how they made it bad, and a lot of those decisions were not incompetence. They were deliberately done to humiliate characters or to do certain things to the overall narrative of the franchise. So is Doctor Strange a hatefully bad movie? Or is it a stupid bad movie? Doctor Strange is a hatefully stupid movie. Thankfully, I don't believe Doctor Strange was deliberately destroyed. Wanda, of course, was deliberately destroyed, and at least it wasn't for any kind of political sense. I don't really know why they wanted to turn Wanda pure evil. If it was intended to kind of carry over from her actions in WandaVision, which I did not watch but know the entire plot synopsis of, WandaVision tried to turn it around like her whole grief thing was resolved. And then you find out, no, now she's very, 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 very evil. Like, extremely, like, destroy everything, kill anyone, no loyalties, no hesitation, pure fucking hatred. Do I find the destruction of Scarlet Witch as a character to be a reason why the movie is bad? Well, from a personal bias standpoint, as an actress, I despise Elizabeth Olsen. I don't believe she can act at all. If you think the ability to cry on command is acting, oh yeah, she's great. She gets in several cry scenes per movie she's in. But that's not acting. She's not believable in any other way. So I hate her. And I hate her character, which makes it doubly bad. So I went in optimistic to watching this movie because, because I like Doctor Strange. I hate Scarlet Witch. This is a movie about Doctor Strange fighting Scarlet Witch. And the heroes always win in the end, right? But I've also been warned that this was supposed to be one of Marvel's more intense and scary movies, which actually is a point in this movie's favor and a point in Marvel's favor. Marvel's not afraid to show kids scary things, which has been something that's been absent from kids' entertainment for a very long time. They're not afraid to kill characters or show blood or show very terrifying bad guys actually kind of being terrifying. Not just because they're powerful, but because of the way they use power on people. But also to be a little bit gory about it. However, there are some Marvel movies that are clearly targeted at a younger audience than others. Spider-Man is targeted at a much younger audience than Doctor Strange, in my opinion. Doctor Strange is probably the most adult franchise in the universe by far. So, maybe I can take this movie seriously. Better yet, it's directed by Sam Raimi. I'm a fan of most of Sam Raimi's films. He has made garbage in the past. But most of his shit is fucking awesome. Alright? So, okay. And my favorite Spider-Man is still not Holland Spider-Man, not Garfield Spider-Man, but Maguire Spider-Man. And those are some of the best superhero movies in terms of general audience fit, composition, and quality that have been made about any superhero, except for Spider-Man 3. That thing's a fucking catastrophe. Just ignore that and think about 1 and 2. All right. So I'm going in optimistic. It took less than 30 minutes, at least, for me to at least go, holy fuck, this is exceedingly bad. This is in the lower, like the F tier of Marvel movies. By 50 minutes to an hour in, I was like, this is the worst Marvel movie. And I hate a lot of the Marvel movies. This is shockingly bad. By the end of the movie, I was shaking with anger in a way similar that I was watching. No. I had a similar level of anger. I was not shaking with anger. I was like shocked, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I was yelling what the fuck at my screen repeatedly, loudly. Like, what the fuck? I was doing that sometimes twice a minute. Like, good God. The amount of stupid per minute ratio in this movie, the stupid, like, incomprehensible, like, what writer got this to, like, the actual part where we're going to film this without being told you're retarded. And especially about incongruities, incoherencies, and the script pulling shit straight from the deepest recesses of its ass in a way that doesn't work in a movie that's about magic with little limits except for imagination. The shit it does where I go, you literally can't do that. Outrageous. I'll mention a few of them when we get there. and because I'm not going to mention a lot specifically about the movie, I'm just trying to get you my frame of reference mostly, because we'd be here for hours. If I did a pull to Mahler, I would probably talk about as long as he does. Yeah, by the end of this movie, it is the worst. I believe that quite possibly Captain Marvel is a more watchable, redeemable, and less hateable film than this. Probably because of the combination of incomprehensibleness and stupidity, along with some of the malice that's in the writing, that is directed towards characters, and therefore is an assault. An assault on a character is an assault on the fans of that character. And there was some of that, and we'll get there. But the combination of all those three kinds of bad at least pushes this film past Age of Ultron, which is my most hated, even over Captain Marvel, which is most offensive, but structurally speaking is not the worst. It's just hateful. And Age of Ultron is not the most hateful, but it is absolutely the most incompetent. And then Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is like this fusion hot of incompetency, hatefulness, and stupidity. And it's just shocking. So first of all, what's the first problem? One of the nicest things about Doctor Strange movies is the characters in Doctor Strange movies are usually intelligent and inventive and witty and come up with solutions to problems that you would not expect. But that makes sense. Doctor Strange is usually funny, and even though he is an asshole, and even though he is an arrogant prick of a level that rivals Tony Stark, and with a kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? With a kind of mean-spiritedness that Tony Stark doesn't actually have. So he's probably more of an asshole. But he's smart and he's funny. There is not, in this movie, a character who is not a troglodytic fucking retard. Like, incomprehensibly, shockingly stupid. Not one. Not Chavez, not Strange, not Wong, not Wanda, not any of these Illuminati cunts, not Regina, Christine, whatever her fucking name is, not a single character with a spoken line, including Pizza Poppies. Sorry, Sam Raimi fans, but fuck that goddamn Bruce Campbell scene too. It was terrible. It was fucking terrible, and it wasn't funny. It was a reference. Oh, yes, I like The Evil Dead too. But kill yourself, you fucking cunt. It sucked. And we had to go back and double milk it in the fucking after credits because yes, Sam Raimi, you owe your career to Bruce Campbell. We love Bruce Campbell. I love Bruce Campbell. Go fuck yourself. All the same. Okay. Not one intelligent movie in a film that features Blue Bolt, Reed Richards, Dr. Fantastic, supposedly one of the smartest people to ever live in a universe full of retarded smart people. And I mean retarded as in very smart people. In this case. Professor Xavier. I'm going to talk about a high intellect character. Morbo, or whatever the fuck his name is, not normally stupid. Not necessarily intelligent either. Doctor Strange himself. I wouldn't necessarily say idiocy has been the worst flaw of Wanda's, but she's not that smart. Okay. And of course, any of the potential characters who could have showed up, but because it's not an Avengers movie, you have to pretend it like it's not an option, and you have to really resist the urge to not go, is there anybody else you want to call in? Like anybody. Just one more guy, so that it doesn't feel this ridiculous. Literally anyone. Now, I'm not telling you assemble the Avengers. Get me one. Dude, get me Falcon. I will take Falcon. Just one more. Just one more. Just so it doesn't. The odds don't feel this retarded. But this movie, and what Sam Raimi is normally good at, is tension. I don't want to necessarily blame Sam Raimi because there were reshoots and there was much studio meddling in this film. And most critics of this film have said, I don't see a lot of Sam Raimi's influence in this film besides certain visual and certain conceptual ideas, like the fucking ghost cloak thing at the end, which, holy shit, is one of a billion stupid things. But I guess I have to mention just a couple of them. First of all, every decision Doctor Strange makes is dumb. Doctor Strange never uses the same spell twice in the entire movie. Most of the spells he uses don't work and are ineffective. And then later on, you see a scene where that spell he used would have been effective, and he chooses to do something else, like throw magical throwing stars made out of musical notes. What the fuck? I don't know what the fuck that was. What else? Power creep. Our Doctor Strange is immune to any kind of power buff any character has. Scarlet Witch, already arguably as strong as him, has the Darkhold. Doesn't matter, he matches her. Another Doctor Strange, who, according to himself, has been killing other Doctor Stranges, and who also has the Darkhold. Strange beats him with musical notes. With fucking musical notes. With who the fuck wrote that scene? Drink a bottle of bleach. Just, at the very least, quit the film industry, but I strongly suggest you also shuffle off the mortal coil, please. The movie, I did mention, it is supposed to be urgent, but every time, like, Wanda's right behind him, he doesn't, like, run. If she's off screen for a second, he starts walking. A man who can fly. A man who can travel through portals, even though through some of the movie he has an excuse not to be able to. He walks. If you try to puzzle out how long Doctor Strange was in the incursioned spooky dimension where the psycho incel Strange was, and you think about the speed he was walking and the distance he visually traveled, the conversation and fight he had with that Strange, and then the shit he did to even try to get back to America Chavez, Wanda had been sitting there sucking America Chavez's power out for hours. Hours. So you can't even pace correctly in a movie that is supposed to be tense, violent, scary, and urgent. With the fate of all universes on the line. Thanos times infinity. Okay. The movie changes its own rules about what America Chavez power can do. It changes its own rules about what the Scarlet Witch can do multiple times. It changes the rules about what Wong can do. It changes the rules about what individual sorcerer powers that we've seen before can do. It sets and then breaks multiple rules about dimensional travel, about how destructions of universes do or do not work. It basically violates everything that No Way Home set up about dimensions. And now we should talk about what it does for characters so I can maybe get out of here in 40 minutes. Because I'm rushing, and this is difficult because there is a flaw per about 25 seconds of this film. And they're all very bad. Character-wise, Doctor Strange is still treated like the same asshole he was at the start and middle of his original movie, which was 10 years ago. Characters who should believe he is trustworthy don't. Characters that think he has personality flaws that he doesn't really have say that about him. The main theme they want to go with is he's afraid to love people. And part of the way they try to show that to him is by showing him incel Strange and then he refuses to respect boundaries or relinquish control of a situation. The Strange that used the Darkhold. Now we got to talk about the Illuminati scene real quick. Okay, so Doctor Strange, together with the Illuminati, destroy Thanos. Our Doctor Strange goes there and tries to talk to the Illuminati and gets the book. They say, we killed our Doctor Strange because he used the Darkhold book, the evil book. Not the good one, the evil one. Now, he stopped using it. We don't know if that specific Doctor Strange actually killed anyone or broke anything. It's expressly said in the dialogue that Doctor Strange was executed. He was killed for the crimes of shit he might do or could have done and luckily did not do when handling the Darkhold. But rather than kill him for that, they're like, okay, Thanos is such a big deal that we're going to let you get us to this book that you should not be able to get to. However, every Doctor Strange we lay eyes on got to that book. So that book's not unreachable. That plot point doesn't make any sense. You lied about how that works. This is fucking insanely stupid writing. Here we get to the hateful part. So Doctor Strange says, Wanda's coming. She's going to kill us all. She can destroy the universe. The Illuminati say, yes, she can destroy the multiverse. However, we can handle her. We're more afraid of you. Again, not because of what you have done or are doing, but what you might do. Pre-crime, Minority Report shit. Should seem familiar. And that, as we all know, is insane. It's illogical. And it's deeply fucking immoral. So the Illuminati are evil, clearly. Especially since they have Captain Marvel on her team with the second least likable female character, third least likable female character in the cinematic universe now playing Captain Marvel. But she's not a big deal in this, except for how they kill her. They have Reed Richards, smartest man alive. Professor Xavier, extremely intelligent man who can read minds and sense intentions. Doesn't read Stephen Strange's mind. Tells him, we're probably going to kill you, by the way. And, Morbo's there. I definitely want to kill you, Doctor Strange. Reed Richards there. Sorry, bro. Lasai, we're probably going to have to kill you. Blue Bolt, doesn't say a word. Captain Marvel, we're probably going to kill you. Okay, and then Captain Carter, Peggy. Oh yeah, I hate you. We're totally going to kill you. Also, I'm not afraid of the witch. Me, the least strong character on this team, and the bravest, and also the last to die, or second last to die for some reason. But so they see the witch is coming. They ignore her until they show that she killed all of the Ultron bots. Oh, okay. We got to go out there and put an end to that. And so they do. And thankfully, at least 4 of them show up to do that. You got Bolt, Richards, Carter, and I cannot remember Wakanda chick's name. Captain Marvel. I'm sorry. Whatever. I just don't care about her character. She doesn't matter. Richards, 10 seconds into meeting, about 30 seconds into meeting Wanda, because Wanda likes to let people live or kill people rather rapidly at will, depending on who has plot armor and who doesn't. Goes up to her and said, you should stop because this guy can kill you in this way. This is a man who knows about sorcery and witchcraft and dimensional bullshit. He is a man of science, but he knows what he's looking at. And he tells a woman who can basically reform matter, this guy can kill you with his mouth. And she goes, what mouth? I don't know if the writers thought that was clever or funny or intimidating. It was stupid. Reed Richards literally explicitly described in words, in dialogue, as the smartest man alive said, here's our strongest member of the Illuminati. He can kill anything with his voice. And she goes, now he doesn't have a voice. And then he kills himself. Whatever. I don't really know hardly anything about Blue Bolt. No sweat off my back. Reed Richards sees this, decides the best course of action. He has tech. There's all sorts of agility shit they can do. He can do. He could flee. I don't know. But he tries to punch her. She instantly kills him. Now, if you go back and you watch the scene where Blue Bolt and Richards are killed, not only do Captain Carter and Captain Wakanda not do anything, here's a big flaw in these special effects. Peggy Carter doesn't move an inch in the minute or two it takes her to kill the first two members of the Illuminati. Or takes Wanda. She doesn't move an inch. She doesn't move an inch. She is frozen like a fucking JPEG. At least Captain Wakanda moves her head to look at other things that are going on. Peggy's literally standing here. Shield stance. Neither of them act. They just watch these other characters die. Do they show grief? Do they show sadness? Do they show shock? Do they show fear? No. Neither of them even show anger. They show girl power. Oh, bitch. You think you're tough, huh? It's on. That's Last Jedi shit. That's Luke Skywalker drinking blue space milk straight from the fucking alien tit. That's bad. That's the worst thing that has ever happened in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She kills Captain Marvel in an ironic way what is wow, I'm so tired and so exhausted I forgot Captain America's name, which, wow, that's embarrassing. So, Captain America. Normally when people throw his shield at him, he does what? He catches it. Well, Peggy tries and gets cut in half. Again, not entirely sure what you were going for. Now, Peggy also uses Captain America's iconic line of "I could do this all day." Now normally, like, Captain America's doing that as a scrappy underdog trying to do the right thing, just trying to be, tough and scrappy. It's like that's what he does. Even when he becomes sexy and super powerful, he stays like this shy, nice, scrappy guy. He stays who he is, a Steve Rogers, right? So when she says it, I could do this all day. First of all, no, you can't. Second of all, why would you say that? It's not your line. But that's not even the worst death. Captain Marvel, who probably has the highest defensive stat of any Avenger, she is insanely hard to kill. She's hardly ever been knocked down, let alone like seriously injured, let alone killed or anything by anything other than a Thanos snap. She gets killed in a scene where everybody's getting killed in kind of cool horror movie ways by having a statue dropped on her, and it's a copy of a statue that she had thrown at her like a ballistic missile 5 minutes ago. And this one just falls on her. Just only its weight being the kinetic force that it hits her and kills her. So then Professor Xavier goes, I just said I was going to, vote to kill you, and I think you're a massive danger. I changed my mind. I think you're going to save the universe. By the way, the book you want is real. I have no idea how to get it. You can go get it. I hope you escape, by the way. I'm not setting you free. I am going to go run off to attack Scarlet Witch. I will show up in about 15 minutes and get killed instantly. And I don't just get killed physically. I get killed in a telepathic character with a character who does have telepathy, but telepathy is arguably not anywhere near her strong suit. Transubstantiation and telekinetics are what she's good at. Kind of like how, Jean Grey was. Sort of like Professor Xavier, but with the more telekinetic-y thing going on. No, she kills him with her mind. Instantly. In about like 15 seconds. Like, holy shit. Oh, glad to see yet another great use of Patrick Stewart. Thanks. I'm sorry, I think that qualifies on the hateful side of fucking stupid. Why did you do that? You finally got a fan stunt casting of John Krasinski to play Reed Richards. Great use you made of that, you fucking cunts. So anyway, that's the only scene I really wanted to break down moment by moment. The one absolutely unbelievable, unforgivable technical flaw is Doctor Strange either not using, but that's a writing, not a technical flaw, or losing his sling ring and getting it back twice in one similar instance that happened with America Chavez. With America Chavez, she was in handcuffs, locked in a stasis chamber that nobody could open from either the inside or the outside. Now, she eventually breaks that stasis chamber by using magic to punch it open. She had magic nullifying handcuffs on. Where did they go, Sam? Where did they go, Marvel Studios? Where did they go, cunt who wrote this movie? I forget what his name is, but he is the man who wrote WandaVision and is the reason why WandaVision is not very good. Well, I know a lot of people are very apologetic towards WandaVision. The first half of the series is pretty decent, whatever. Don't care. He's the reason why it did suck. Handcuffed. Magic nullifying. Next scene, no handcuffs. Can use magic. Container designed to stop people from breaking it with magic. Broken with magic. Okay. Next thing. The first Doctor Strange we see, who dies in the beginning of the movie, does not have a sling ring. Doctor Strange at certain points when he should be using a sling ring and has it, doesn't use it, and then has it taken away from him by Wanda. And then you really feel its absence because you actually physically know it's gone. And now you're thinking, okay, I understand why you're not slinging ringing now when you really should have been doing it all the time earlier in the movie. You should be making portals like every fucking second of what you're doing. Okay, but now you don't have it. But now you should be feeling urgency and maybe running or flying a little bit more in this movie. I know Benedict Cumberbatch is not great at sprinting on camera, but put in a stand-in or something. Something! Don't walk everywhere you go. When you finally get to where the good book is, the good can save you from anything book, you walk to it so Wanda can catch up to you. In a manner that she should not be able to. America Chavez, the whole I need her power to dimensional travel. Nobody needs her power to dimensional travel. Everyone who can dream walk can dimensional travel. And so, even though that's supposed to be a technicality and it's not really dimensional travel, Wanda really dimensionally travels twice in this fucking film without America Chavez. And twice with her. Fuck off. And at least 3 Doctor Stranges got there too. Fuck off. So anyway, even though Doctor Strange gets there in a way he absolutely should not have been able to know, and at least should have taken some time for him to figure out, they don't sit there and have a tense, we have to think about the opening to this door and figure out watch. We get tension from, they figure out the watch in 2 seconds, and then they just stare at the book and walk towards it and stare at it for minutes until Wanda catches up when she should not be able to. So eventually that leads to all the shit that leads to Doctor Strange being trapped in creepy world, and the only way he can think to do this, to get out of it, is to dimensional travel into a corpse. You can't do that. And I don't mean can't do that because it's forbidden. I mean, you can't do that because it's impossible. Even under the rules of this universe, you can't just inhabit a fucking corpse. Because a corpse is not a person you can possess. It's a fucking corpse. Could he have projected and possessed the dust of the people who were blipped and reformed them one at a time by possessing the dust they turned into? Fuck off. You can't do that. Problem number 2, he can barely move in this body. Well, that's okay, because Corpse Strange has a sling ring, except for, no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. He never uses or is wearing or makes any indication that he can sling ring. As far as we know, and we know nothing about where that first Strange came from, sling rings don't exist where he came from. All I can tell you is he was definitely not wearing one and not using one in a place he really fucking should have been using it. Which means I am giving the writers benefit of the doubt, not unfair criticism, by arguing that this character doesn't fucking have a sling ring. Because holy shit, you're retarded, and Doctor Strange is retarded in all universes, not just Earth 616. Because he never used it. But because we need him to get to like some fucking evil Mount Everest on the other side of the world, when the corpse is in New York City, well, he has to sling ring. Fuck off. And then there was the evil spirits exist just to stop sorcerers from possessing dead things. Their only purpose is to kill sorcerers who possess dead things. As far as we know. They are hell demons. Well, Wanda doesn't give a shit about them, and we'll get to why in a second. Maybe Darkhold. Okay? Maybe that's why Strange could pull it off. I don't know. But I can tell you that he basically enslaved a pack of demons that are designed to kill sorcerers who do what Strange is doing. Instead, he bends them to his will. Okay? Now, at last, I'm going to talk about Wanda. And I really just have one major criticism of Wanda, besides the fact that I despise Elizabeth Olsen, and this is a really cruel thing to do to a character who is presumably a good guy. And her only character trait has been, for 3 movies, I'm sad about Vision. If I ever gave a shit about Scarlet Witch, I'd be offended. And if I liked Elizabeth Olsen at all, I'd be offended. Don't give a shit, hate her. The entirety of what we know about Scarlet Witch is she is what you would call a glass cannon. As in, she is physically as vulnerable as any human being. But her powers are as exceptional as any other hero. Now, she normally gets punked out in a lot of her movies. Some, like maybe Age of Ultron, she's not up to her potential. Maybe she gets punked out because the Thanos' crew are kind of badasses in Infinity War and in Endgame and shit. And okay, but arguably on paper and definitely in the comics, Scarlet Witch is a like world-ending threat. She's a big fucking deal. But she's just a normal person. She has to physically not get hit. She survives at least 5 100% death blows in this film. When Captain Carter launches into her as a super soldier and smashes her in the face with vibranium, her head should have came off of her shoulders and pasted onto the wall behind her in a splatter of fucking gore. When America Chavez punches her so hard it shockwave rocks a mountain and causes landslides, should have fucking killed her. A lot of the times she gets thrown or shot at with stuff should have fucking killed her. Because in many of them, she does not have her defenses up. And the movie says that definitely hit her because look, now she's bleeding. Or now she's very bruised, or her clothing is more damaged, or it literally knocked her out of her fucking shoes or something. And then there's scenes where this is a character who can fly at will, for any reason, at any speed, walking over glass to make her look like she's moving slower to give our characters time to run from her, but then she still gains on them while she's walking. She's walking with bloody, cut up feet, and she's gaining on characters that are sprinting in mad terror. Okay? Just let her fly. Like, why? Every single scene has something like this, but obviously we've been here for 45 minutes. I wanted to start with these comparison things. I wanted to stress to you what is a likable bad movie, and that's most of the Marvel films. What's a legitimately good cape shit movie? Structurally, Doctor Strange, Infinity War I think counts as like number 2 in terms of overall quality. Iron Man 1 is somewhere amongst that top 3. Okay, as in competent movie that still has all the hallmarks of cape shit, still is fun for all audiences, yada yada. Okay, what are the worst? Endgame, Thor 2, Iron Man 3, Captain Marvel, Avengers Age of Ultron. My overall pick is Age of Ultron. Overall, most hateful, Captain Marvel. Most boring, Thor 2. Most offensive to source material and comic book nerds, Iron Man 3. Okay, take your pick. This movie had something for everyone to despise, and yet Marvel, the people are still sticking around for the overall diminishing returns on cape shit. Don't care. They really don't care. And not all of them are kids, okay? Because it's not all kids going on Rotten Tomatoes and showering everything Marvel shits out with 5 stars, regardless of if it even deserves 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. This is the worst Marvel movie in its entirety, and it rivals in every individual category movies that are up for worst movie because of this sin. And it is arguably worst overall movie depending on how you weight these sins. This movie rivals the comic book offensiveness in rewriting of lore of Iron Man 3. This rivals the stupidity of the stupidity in conceited like studio meddling, punched up dialogue, obvious reshoots, trying to set up other shit, lack of care of Age of Ultron, and making your villains and heroes stupid dumbasses. Age of Ultron also chief among those sins. In terms of hatefulness to the audience, nowhere near Captain Marvel. Let's just put that to bed. No. But like, look at what you're hitting on all cylinders. You're 5-starring every category, buddy. You're 100 over. You're like a 95 overall rated character in terms of shit moviedom. Like, holy fuck. This movie sucks dick on every level except visual representation and Sam Raimi fan service. Not Marvel fan service, Sam Raimi fan service. Some of the visuals in this movie kick ass. Some of the visuals in this movie kick ass, and the only reason they're in the movie is to put in the trailer. We're not, as fans, supposed to forgive that. We're not, as critical people, supposed to forgive the trailer shot cliche. Don't do that. When Wong's about to die, Chavez is about to die, and Strange turns around and does the I'm a zombie with a bunch of spirits around me pose, that's a trailer shot that the character would not have done for any reason in universe. Not a single one. This movie had everything. Every trope and convention that is bad in bad slasher movies, bad horror movies. It's shameful what Sam Raimi let get into this film in terms of certain things the monsters were doing, certain things Wanda was doing. And they let him get a lot of shit in that I think might have fucking actually given some kids some nightmares. At least today's kids, 90s kids would eat this shit up in terms of the graphicness of this movie. And this movie is decently graphic for a Marvel film. If it got a PG rating, I'd be shocked. I did not look it up, but it has to be PG-13 because holy shit, this is considerably more graphic than Revenge of the Sith, one of the first like fantasy for kids, blah blah blah, shut your brain off, it's for kids, retard, movies to get a PG-13 rating for being too fucking like kind of fucked up. This movie's there, and past that, I didn't even think the fan service was well incorporated. I was kind of insulted at the Bruce Campbell scene. Yes, look, he's punching himself like he did in Evil Dead 2. Kill yourself, I don't care. And Doctor Strange is like, oh, you have threatened to call the cops on America Chavez for stealing, and she is stealing. I'm going to make you hit yourself. And she's like, well, how long is that going to last for? Like 30 seconds? 3 minutes? And Doctor Strange goes, 3 weeks. What did he do? Call you a nigger or something? Like, no. 3 weeks? Why? He might starve to death punching himself in the mouth. What the fuck is wrong with you? That's not funny. You killed any fun we could have got out of a punching yourself scene. Not to mention he maced himself with fucking yellow mustard, which can blind people. God damn. What was that for? You could have punked him. You could have physically hurt him. But that was sadistic. At a fucking, like, torture level. What the fuck? I mean, I know Doctor Strange is not at all the most merciful Avenger, but Jesus Lord. On a bit character? The fuck? And then the only other thing I'll say is Doctor Strange just does not show appropriate concern for anything that's happening. The same problem I had with No Way Home, which is he's making jokes when he really shouldn't be. And he's making boisterous quips when he really shouldn't be. And he wastes time being melancholy when his character would be like, the time for crying is later. Because Doctor Strange is a very businesslike, and even though he is arrogant, not prone to being provoked into being stupid either. He's sort of justifiably arrogant in an Iron Man sort of way, only less prone to making mistakes than Iron Man. Turned him into the biggest jackass in the history of the fucking MCU. And here I was shooting for 30 minutes and then shooting for 45. We're going to get out of here under 55. I'd be repeating myself at this point, or breaking my promise to you to not get into more scene-by-scene breakdowns, because we don't have time for that unless you want me to turn into the new Longman. And I'm not the biggest Longman fan, more so because I hate EFAP, but I do like the actual Unbridled Rages. And his last couple have not been great. His Unbridled Rage on this movie was, helped me write this video. But the thing is, there was not a lot that Mahler saw that I didn't. There was a few, and there was a couple that I saw that Mahler didn't. So, this movie had thousands of either you can't do that because you can't do that because it shatters the continuity of the film, you can't do that because it breaks the narrative of the film, or you can't do that because it's stupid, and you can't do that because it assassinates a character. It does that thousands of times in the runtime. Like I said, multiple times a minute. It's dizzying, staggering, overwhelming how horrifyingly badly written this movie is. Remember when I called Batman 2022 one of the worst, if not the worst screenplays I've ever seen? Holy shit! Not in the same league. Not even in the same sport as fucking this screenplay. Whoever wrote this deserves to be strapped down and just have individual shakers of iodized salt poured into their eyes, and then their ears, and then up their nose, and then down their mouth until they suffocate and fucking die. How do you get work? I know that Hollywood writing is so fucking bad that who's arguably the guy who really shouldn't be competing amongst the other fucking jackasses in the clown circus is relative. This guy is the jackass of jackasses. This is the guy that the screenwriters of shit like Batman 2022, the screenwriters of shit like Avengers Age of Ultron, the screenwriters of shit like fucking pick a bad movie that's come out recently, and they can go, call me a bad writer, look at that guy. I'm not bad. Maybe you can hit me with mediocre. Maybe I'm in a slump, dude. But I got my best days ahead of me, and look who Marvel's paying to handle some of their most popular franchises in this MCU. Look at who Disney trusts. Why didn't you just get our Anita Sarkeesian to write a fucking fan fiction about Captain Marvel 2, where she just goes around punching every man in the universe in the balls? Like, again, I can't. In the little interview footage I've seen of this guy, he doesn't really look like a hateful person. This is what's so harsh that I have to say it about him, is this man is so stupid, he writes as if he's hateful. This man is so stupid, he writes as if a man who deliberately sabotaged an entire franchise. He, by accident, is doing what Ruin Johnson did on purpose. Holy shit! Thanks for watching. I'll probably write his name down in the comments so you can look him up too if you weren't thinking like I do about all aspects of film, not just are you fucking with my universe, are you entertaining me, but also how well are we doing directing? Least problematic thing in this film. Score, forgettable, not bad. Visual effects, great, but often misused. Not a whole lot of, like, that was really dodgy looking CGI, but it was there oftentimes when Wong was on screen. I don't know if, like, they went, okay, we're going to put the least frames into his shit and it's going to look really choppy because out of all the dudes we want to make look good in effects, I don't know, maybe I don't like Asian people, but we're doing his shit last in crunch time. Like, something like that happened with both him and, was it Peggy Carter or Sue Carter? Because if I've been calling her Peggy and her name is Sue, or vice versa, I'm sorry. Or Peggy Sue Carter, I don't remember what her name is. A lot of her visual effects were bad. The being frozen in time, the sprinting around when she's not being shot at, and the obviously, it's blurred out, but it's obviously a placeholder effect of her running away from being shot at. But they threw it in the background of a scene where she's not even being looked at by anybody. She's like running around pillars, like doing laps, while Captain Marvel is shooting at Wanda. Again, you can't let me get into scenes. Or like when Captain Carter and Wanda were doing shit for 15 to 20 seconds while Captain Marvel was an inch from firing. And then when she finally turned and let Captain Marvel get a turn, because we apparently are doing turn-based strategy in this movie, then what Carter's doing doesn't make any sense. And when Wanda's her turn, literally Captain Marvel, Reed Richards, and Carter are literally standing there in a line, motionless, almost as if it's a scene from Final Fantasy. I would almost believe that some visual effects nerd was going, I love Final Fantasy, let me put this in there, even though it ruins the scene. Anyway, 57 minutes. We got to stop. You want to hear me shit on Marvel shit more, I can go rewatch Endgame or something, because I remember hating the fuck out of that movie, but I watched it drunk, so anything I say about it's not 100% fair, but holy shit is it objectively terrible. Avengers Age of Ultron I saw in theaters very lucidly. Anyway, we gotta stop. But this is, I would say, the worst Marvel movie, hands down. No, not hands down. This is the worst Marvel movie. It's debatable. I think I could win that debate against anyone. Even the comics nerds, when my general overall background knowledge of Marvel characters in the comics is sparse, bet you I'll still win. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. 60 minutes, the new long man. Also, if you like this movie, I hate you, and I want nothing but misfortune for you.